Souls Convoy, and today I'm doing a double review. I'm reviewing Newage H63B Nidhogg, which is their Shattered Glass Slag, and H57B Toruk, their Shattered Glass Swoop. If you're going to do a double header for the first time, change things up. Here are the boxes really quickly. I'm not going to take a look at the backs, but you know, cool art. Very cool art on these Shattered Glass boxes. Let's take a look at the figures. Just to be like a housekeeping thing, I'm not going to be like, you know, going super in depth on Slag, articulation, rundown and stuff, just to compare the deco differences from the original G2 version that I reviewed last week. So let's get in close on him for a quick look. I'm gonna put Swoop off to the side. So his head sculpt is again a bit hard to pick out. It's got like this nice red paint for the eyes, and then you've got this screaming face going on. I don't know if you guys can see that, but he's got a screaming face, so I hope that's visible. He's got a nice black paint on the shoulders, nice blue paint here, weird swirly purple plastic for the chest that I don't love, and for the horns you can see it swirling in my lights. I don't love that. Silver paint here, blue paint. The grays have really nice gray paint, black plastic, nice tampos here. The tampos aren't as common as the G2 toy versions, but they do really help break up the monotony of an otherwise simple figure, and a lot of silver paint on the back that comes through in Dino mode. But for the most part, you know, I will compare it with Slag and the G2 in a sec, but for the most part, a bit boring deco-wise. Let me get in on Swoop's head sculpt. And I like this head sculpt a lot deco-wise. I love the gold, I love the pink for the eyes. I love this like toothpaste teal for the face, but I don't love the sculpt of the face. I don't really love his duck. He has like really pronounced lips with a gap in between. It's weird. It's a bit weird. He has this nice red mohawk, which is plastic. Red paint here, red paint there, red paint for the dino eyes, gold paint, red plastic, gold paint. Swoop, out of all the Newage Dinobots so far, his shapes are like the least interesting to me. His arms are literally just blocks, and I don't love this weird protrusion here. There's also a gap. You can quite literally see through it. That's not great. But he is really clean, at least. I mean, for the back, you know, there's not much. It's just the wings, honestly. There's nothing else on this figure. And the chest is nice. We'll get into the articulation later. This is a bit loose, but I'm sure it's, I think it's a screw, so you can just, yeah, the screwdriver can just tighten that, so it won't be too hard. Feet are just bare black plastic. Let me get into the posability for this guy. I'm not doing it for Slag. So you have a head ball joint, which can look all the way up, which is fantastic. Love that. You have a hinge joint at the base of the neck, which gets you all the way down if you want to. I mean, it's going to break the sculpt, obviously, but you know, you can get a really good downward look pose. His head posability is fantastic. Love that. Two joints of the shoulder, which lets you go up all the way, but you can't use the shoulder joint when it's out of position. This is a transformation joint, not dedicated articulation. Universal, you know, the whole shebang before you run into the things. Double jointed elbows. Unfortunately, the elbows have a tendency to like recess into themselves because this one is looser. So just be mindful of that. Wrist tilt for sword poses, which would be great. There's a big problem with that, though. I'll get on in a second. Wrist swivel. This is going to be a more controversial part of this figure. If you pull up the Dino head, he has an ab crunch. But I will let you judge for yourself how you feel about this. I think it's cool they didn't use fake parts. And it has an ab crunch. No other Swoop toy today has an ab crunch, but this is definitely something. Also, the waist swivel is also locked in, so you do have to lift the Dino head, and the waist swivel runs into the back, so you kind of have to. You're basically forced to cope with this, honestly, if you want to use the waist swivel in any meaningful way. Unfortunate, but kind of expected for a toy of this design. He has hip skirts that are a bit weird in shape, and I think they clash with the Dino head. No, they don't really. I don't know. You can get 90 out, basically. You have a thigh swivel, as mentioned, a bit loose, double jointed knee for the full run. And then he's really well articulated, honestly. You have the ankle tilts, which gets you this much, which is great. And then this can go up, and it can go down. So you really do have like all that articulation you really need. I mean, he is posable. It's just like there's some weird hang-ups. Like he's really posable in some areas, and then he's not so posable in some other areas. You know what I mean? Like it's a bit inconsistent. He goes from really posable with his head and like his ankles, and his knees and his elbows are all super posable, and his shoulders. But then like the waist swivel and the ab crunch is just like a weird moment due to the design, unfortunately. So here they are again. They do look pretty good. This deco is, Swoop's deco is infinitely more interesting. This guy is just boring and copies Grimlocks, which is really lame. Let's do accessories. As mentioned last week, disgusting gray gun. I swear to God, this is the same exact piece of plastic as the one that came with G2 Slag. I don't know what the... I don't know what they were thinking. I'm not gonna curse. You have alternate hands for both, which have hinges, right? These are for Slag, usual. And then Swoop also has them. Unfortunately, I'm not gonna try to flip out Swoop's wrists because this thing the wrists are on is super loose. In order to swap the wrists, I have to bring in a spudger from behind because this is hollow to hold the wrist. Oh, I guess I could do... I'm gonna regret this. If it doesn't go back in, I'm just not putting it back in. You really have to like hold. Oh my God, that sucks. But yeah, any pressure you put on this to put this in is gonna force the panel back in. So you have to really grasp it from right here, from right here, so it does not move. So he also has these hinging hands. Pink sword for Shattered Glass Slag, which Swoop can probably hold better than him. Yeah, there you go. It actually does look better on Swoop. Now, I mean, it doesn't look better deco-wise. I mean, it looks better because he can like bend his wrists. So like the things still, these still suck, but he can like bend his wrist like a sword wielder would. Not really, because the handle is too long. But you know, so sword for Slag. God, that sucks. Main accessory for Swoop, you have these missile launchers, which you can use in Dino mode or hold. The gimmick is they split open at the tip. You bring out these blast effects that he has 2 of. Do that. Pop that back on. Pop the missile head back on. And bada bing, bada boom. I have shot a missile at you. Or put it at the camera. Yeah. See? The blast effect does look really nice, admittedly. It's a really cool gimmick. I like it. You can also use it in the dinosaur mode eventually, of course. So yeah, I mean, accessories are the usual. Pretty terrible for Slag, as I talked about in the G2 one. Same exact issues here. I do love the shade of pink on the sword, though. It does look fantastic, admittedly. I'm gonna leave one missile launcher because I think it's funny. You know. But yeah, the pink sword is the highlight of accessories, I think. This is fantastic. I just really wish they'd figured out something about this hilt right here, or pommel. I think this is the pommel. I wish they figured something out about that so he could hold it properly. But yeah, sorry for the limited look on Slag, but I did go over all their I will link the G2 Slag video in the description so you guys can go through that if you want. But let's get in some comparisons. First with other Dinobots. So here's Shattered Glass Sludge. And again, I think it is quite lame that, you know, you have this badass and Sludge with this crazy fun deco, and like, you know, he's being forced into a set with, I mean, Swoop's deco is also awesome, and then Slag is just, hello, I have Grimlock's deco, kind of lame. And then there's the Shattered Glass set. And then coming in on the side, we have the G2, ooh, that's someone's hand. That's Swoop's hand. We have the G2 Slag. I definitely think the G2 deco pops more than the Shattered Glass version. The excess tampos, the beautiful green. The red plastic on this guy is no red plastic, not swirly, weird red purple plastic, which sucks. So that's a huge improvement. I like the green a lot more, is all I'm going to say on that matter. Also, the leg kibble, I think, is a bit less visible on this guy because it's darker. On this guy, you have like this teal, right? The teal right there just pops out super hard at you. So you constantly see it. And now for general size comparisons, like always. Oh no, somebody nearly fell. Depth charge. G2 Trooper Deluxe. Again, Slag is about deluxe height. Swoop's a bit shorter than depth charge. Random flak as always. And then Bombers who I very lazily transformed. So yeah, Cores and Swoop is, you know, a bit shorter than, it's like a short deluxe, very short deluxe. Slag is the size of a full grown deluxe or taller. But yeah, I'm gonna get them transformed and then we're gonna take a look at their dinosaur modes. So here I have them in alternate mode with our general cast of size comparisons. Here's Flak from Cyberverse, Bombshell, Legacy Core, Legacy G2 Trooper, Depth Charge. So, you know, I guess Swoop fully extended wingspan is quite long. So that's for size comparisons. Let me get these guys out of the way and then bring out the other Newage Dinobots I own. So here's G2 Slag, and here's Shattered Glass Sludge. I guess let me move G2 Slag out of the way for later. I'm just gonna do Slag. Looking at these SG guys, I think it's a bit of a shame that you went from, like, you know, two very original decos based on limited art for this guy and this guy. This guy's a homage to a whole different toy, Armada Ravenous, who was like supposed to be like an evil version of G1 Swoop. So I thought that was really creative, and you know, this Slag is just based on the Loyal Subject set, which is still shelf warming on Big Bad Toy Store like a decade and a half later after coming out. And so no one really cares about this deco. I mean, whatever. It looks good. It looks good objectively. I just think they went off the script a little bit. The Shattered Glass set all being unique and original was really cool, and it was an inverse of the Dinobots all being the same deco. But anyways, we've all heard about that enough. Let me do a quick comparison between the two Slags. I'm not going to go deep in depth on Slag because I've already done a video on the mold. And this is mainly for Swoop. But, you know, deco-wise, I think this one is fine. It's just a bit boring. It has the aforementioned gap, of course, because this won't close because it's painted too much, I guess, on the head. So that's a bit unfortunate. I don't really think it's like a huge issue or whatnot, but it does make me a bit upset, you know, and I do think that maybe objectively, I guess that makes this better. I don't know, I mean, it's a bit plain. I like the black circles on the shoulders. Those look great. They borrowed that from the toy. I love this silver paint. The silver paint is really striking. The frill is also silver paint. Only these are die cast. No chrome on this guy. No chrome on this guy. This guy has chrome on here. Actually, these might be chrome plastic. I can't tell. Yeah, but the usual. Tail is painted, you know. So it doesn't look bad per se. I don't think this is a bad figure or an ugly one. I just think that it's a bit boring is all. Let me get close in on Swoop because he's the star of the show. So Swoop is definitely a character, right? Let me see if I can get these lights a bit better. There we go. Swoop, I don't know, he looks good in like a flying pose, I think. You know, you have that. As I mentioned, you can detach the missiles and put the blast effects on, so that'll probably look cool. I don't really care enough to do that right now. You can put in a peg, there's a peg hole. Just put it in really lightly. I know someone broke this recently. So just put that in lightly on the peg hole for the stand, and then you can go on the stand. Yay. In terms of articulation, he's pretty limited, by far the most limited Newage Dinobot. So there's a hinge right here, which allows this to get a little bit of side to side. And once you bend this, the side to side goes away. So it's only when he's looking forward, you can do a little bit of side to side. Once you start doing that, you basically start to lose the side to side. You can also do this here, so you could technically do that. But, you know, this starts to break the sculpt here. The neck looks really ugly when you do that, but it is there. The wings have an array of hinges, so you can go back on this one, here on this one, and then here on this one. Some of these hinges go both ways. Some of them are only one directional, so just keep that in mind when you're messing with it. Not all of them are omnidirectional. The torso is clearly a compressed robot. It holds together fine-ish. The feet are super tiny and they can pose, but they're fiddly as all hell because the toes and the feet themselves move at the same time, and because of his large wingspan and backpack, he can be a bit hard to balance. But yeah, that's pretty much, I don't mind this. It's definitely the most simple New Age Dinobot, and it's the most boring one, I think, in dinosaur mode. It really needs the flight stand, otherwise it's kind of a thing. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the dinosaur modes. God, I cannot get him to stand. There we go. Like a vast predatory bird, etc. Oh, I don't want to scratch the paint, but yeah, he can open his mouth a considerable range. But yeah, I guess this is me when I'm yapping during final thoughts. Look at me, I'm yapping. Anyways, final thoughts. So final thoughts for New Age Toruk, Shattered Glass Swoop, and New Age Nidhogg, Shattered Glass Slag. I think Slag, if you're into the Shattered Glass set and the deco doesn't bother you, objectively it's a pretty sweet deco. The teal is awesome in hand. The gray is pretty cool. The purple is not great. But if you just want the mold, I would go for one of the G2 or the EX versions personally. They also don't have the whole transformation issue with the forehead part, which doesn't sit flush. But it's not bad. I don't hate it. It just turned me off of the Shattered Glass set because I don't think the deco is particularly inspiring. Swoop, on the other hand, if you're into the SG Dinobots, definitely pick it up. If you're into crazy decos, pick it up. It's like so wacky and fun, you know? I mean, it's a homage to a random ass character from an Armada manga who was like an Autobot turned evil, and he turned into like Armada Ravenous, which is a green repaint of Transmetal Pterosaur who was actually an Autobot called Ravenous who looked a lot like G1 Swoop but wasn't G1 Swoop. Look up TF Wiki Ravenness, and it'll all make sense. It's a really fun homage. I want more stuff like this from New Age. I just don't like the head sculpt and the whole Dinobot thing. I don't know. I don't know. It's a good toy. I can't really criticize Swoop for any objective reasons. The waist swivel and the ab crunch are kind of goofy, but there are plenty of Swoop toys that omit those entirely or have an ugly gap in the middle of the beak or a fake bottom beak. The Magic Square one's gonna have a fake bottom beak, which I think if you're a tuner will probably be the ideal solution. I just don't love splitting the beak. In my ideal world, the beak would just end like above his waist, or he would have like a drop down waist or something. I don't know. The model sheet accuracy thing is harming the toy objectively, in my opinion. But I mean, New Age had to do that, so I'm not going to hold it against them for catering to their biggest demographic, which is the Sunbow crowd. I don't think Swoop's a bad figure. I think he's a little bit expensive. If he was like $50 flat, I would highly recommend it, but I think this one is $65. I have a link to Shattered Glass Slag in the description, by the way. He was honestly priced way better. It's a significantly better toy than Swoop is. If you're going to get one New Age Dinobot, again, get a copy of the Slag mold for sure. It's a banger through and through. You want more detail on Shattered Glass Slag, check my review of that. Or the G2 one, you want to see more about the mold, the articulation. There's a lot of it. But yeah, man, I mean, I highly recommend you get a copy of the Slag mold, maybe not this particular deco unless you are particularly enamored with it, then by all means go ahead. Whatever version of Slag you like, pick it up. Swoop, if you like it, get it. You know, I don't love the arms. I don't like the shaping of the arms. They're super boring. The legs are super boring. The abdominal parts constantly want to pop off like they did. Just things to keep in mind, you know, things to keep in mind. Like the abdominal parts that hold his armpits in. If you own the toy, you know what I'm talking about. On my copy, the design seems sound. I think my copy might have a tolerance issue there, or I'm just doing it wrong. That's entirely possible. That is entirely possible. I think I moved the shoulders down to droop them down for poses, and then like that part pops out. Anyways, Slag, one of New Age's best molds. Get a copy. Swoop, a good New Age mold. If you're into New Age, if you're into third-party legends, if you're into Dinobots, pick up a copy. If it doesn't appeal to you aesthetically or you don't like it, it's one you can skip. You're not gonna like rue the day you missed out on this thing because you didn't like how it looked. Nah, Slag, you might, maybe. I don't think passing on toys is a bad decision ever, because again, they're luxury items. But I think it's a really good mold. Anyways, that's all I have to say for these two. Let me know what you guys think of this double header review in the comments. I'm going to link Shatterglass Slag purchasing link, video of the G2 Slag for more detail on Shatterglass Slag. And yeah, so thanks again, guys. Again, thank you for the continued support. I'm going to try to respond to every comment. Have a great one. Souls Convoy, peace out.